chat. And at the end of each section, we will answer those questions. After the training, a PDF copy of the training will be sent to you along with the link for the quiz. You must pass the quiz to obtain lender portal credentials. So let's get started. What is the Flex Lending Program? OHCS has developed a lending program to help fulfill OHCS's mission of providing homeownership opportunities for low to moderate income Oregonians. To help Oregonians buy homes. Flex Lending provides a first mortgage in combination with a silent or repayable second. And the biggest issue borrowers face today is saving for a down payment. And Flex Lending is here to help with that. What the program offers. The Flex Lending program is a 30-year first mortgage loan product with DPA. The DPA is offered as a silent or repayable second mortgage with 10, 20, or 30-year terms, and there's a 4 or 5% DPA option available. The first mortgage loan is available as conventional FHA, VA, and USDA loan products. This program may be combined with other grants and DPAs, and there is a reduced MI for lower income borrowers, and those are the borrowers with less than 80% AMI. Our program features competitive loans with down payment assistance, no first-time homebuyer requirements, exclusive to properties located in Oregon. Applicant income is used to qualify and not the total household income. Focused Demographics DPA product provides an increased DPA and more favorable terms. The DPA provides a repayable or silent second lien based on the total first mortgage loan amount. Any unused DPA funds are applied to the principal balance of the first mortgage loan. Lender funds the DPA at closing and is reimbursed when IHFA, Idaho Housing, purchases the loan. And please note, DPA may not be used to pay the difference between the sales price and the appraised value if the sales price is higher, which is known as gap financing. Interest rates are based on the current market conditions. Rates do change daily and are available 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. They are located on our Flex Lending website as well as the lender portal. All first mortgages are 30-year fixed rates. We offer FHA, VA, USDA, Freddie Mac under the HFA Advantage program, and Fannie Mae under the HFA Preferred program. The Focused Demographics DPA product is designed to bridge the gap for underserved communities by providing increased DPA and more favorable terms. So in order to meet the focused demographics, the borrowers must first meet our program guidelines and meet 2 of these 4 criteria. Household size of 4 or more people, household member with a disability, a front-end ratio of 28% or higher, the sole head of household with 1 or more eligible dependents. And the eligible dependents are less than 18 years of age, greater than 62 years of age or older, and a household member with a disability. And note, household must include only 1 adult who is not an eligible dependent. This is our focused demographic worksheet that determines the borrower's qualifications. The worksheet does need to be completed and signed by both the borrowers and the LO. And this form can be found on our website as well as the lender portal. The Flex Lending Flex Lending program offers 2 different types of second mortgages. The first is a silent second mortgage that bears a 0% interest rate. And there are 2 repayment terms. The first one is a 10-year option The loan will be reduced after the 5th year, each year on the anniversary of the note date by an amount of equal to 20% of the original principal amount and fully forgivable at the end of year 10. The 20-year option, the loan will be reduced after the 5th year, each year on the anniversary of the note date by an amount equal to 6 2/3% of the original principal amount and fully forgivable at the end of year 20. There is also the amortizing second mortgage, which is repayable, and it bears an interest rate that is 1% above the first lien interest rate as set by the program. That is available for terms of 10, 20, or 30 years. And they begin payable monthly payments beginning the first month after closing. Repayment events. The second mortgage lien will become due and payable when the following events occur. A sale or transfer, refinance or payoff, rental of the property, failure to occupy property as principal residence, and default or acceleration. Borrower eligibility. Maximum income for this program is $125,000. First-time home buyer is not required. Borrowers must occupy property within 60 days of closing. Borrower may not own any other property at the time of closing. Non-occupying co-borrowers and co-signers are allowed within income limits. Income requirements, again, maximum income is $125,000. DPA terms based on borrower's income. The income is determined by the underwriter. Lenders are responsible for ensuring income meets program requirements. Here's the second mortgage loan matrix, which breaks down the DPA percent, the income tier, the terms, and the rate. Silent mortgages are reserved for borrowers that have an AMI, area median income, of 80% and below. Repayable mortgages are for borrowers whose AMI is greater than 80%, up to $125,000. The standard DPA is a 4% DPA, and the focus demographic has a DPA of 5%. And here are the income limits by county. They are divided up by incomes less than 80% AMI, incomes with 80 to 120% AMI, and incomes greater than 120% AMI with a cap of 125,000. This chart is also posted on the Flex Lending webpage and the lender portal. Property eligibility,
Real quick, with the income, that is based on qualifying income, not household income, correct?
Yes, qualifying income.
Thank you.
New property eligibility, new or existing one-unit single-family homes, HUDs, condominiums, townhomes, manufactured homes. Properties that are not allowed are co-ops, second homes, and investment properties, 2 to 4 unit properties, and single-wide manufactured homes. Underwriting requirements. All mortgage loans must be underwritten to the standards of the applicable loan type. 620 minimum credit score using DU, LPA, and GUS. 640 minimum credit score for manual underwrites on government loans with 2 months of reserves. Manual underwriting is not allowed on conventional loans. Maximum DTI is 50%. Owner occupied purchases only. Lenders are responsible for credit underwriting decisions and follow standard agency guidelines and any IHFA overlays. Mortgage insurance, what we do allow is borrower paid, split premium, single premium. Finance mortgage insurance is allowed. However, there is a gross LTV cap of 97%, which includes the finance mortgage insurance amount. The lender paid mortgage insurance option is not available. Our approved MI companies are Arch, MGIC, Essent, Radian, National, and Enact. And please note that under 80% AMI, a reduced coverage amount is offered. Homebuyer education is required for all first-time homebuyers. Homebuyers must complete homebuyer education through an OHCS homeownership center and see the list of participating homeownership centers. It's listed on our website. And our program fees, origination charges are allowed according to agency guidelines. Fees may be passed on to borrower as allowed by agency guidelines. All fees should be disclosed on the loan estimate CD. And if you look at the chart on the side there are fees, the loan acquisition fee, tax service fee, and flood cert fee. Those are all fees that are paid to Idaho Housing, and they will deduct those fees from the loan purchase price. Then there's also code compliance for $225. That's for Hilltop Securities. And that is actually paid through Hilltop ACH application. And there will be more information on that in the second half of this training. And then list fees in accordance with TRID guidelines on the LECD document. Lender requirements. Lenders, loan officers must be licensed and approved to originate in Oregon. Staff originating and processing mortgages under the program must be located in Oregon or within 50 miles of Oregon's borders. Lenders must have the ability to originate, fund, and service mortgage loans, including DPA loans, until purchased by the master servicer. And now we're back to our contact information. My name is Christina Hatton again, and on behalf of the Flex Lending team, myself, Angelica Jimenez, and Scott Shaw, we look forward to working with you and helping our underserved communities of Oregon obtain homeownership. And we can take a few questions because we still have the lender portal part of the training to go through. So if anybody has any program questions, please type them into the chat. And anything that we don't get to, we'll follow up with an email. And we can do this for a few minutes before I need to turn it over to Sharon.
Okay, Christina. So the first question that I see is, yes, Liz, we will be sharing the presentation after it is done. And then we have, there was a question asking how is disability defined? And I did provide a copy or a link to the focused demographic worksheet from our website. I don't know if you want to touch on that or we can move on to the next.
Well, disability is how we do have to prove the disability, but that can be very sometimes difficult to do. If you have a borrower who has SSI disability income, that is a person who we know is disabled. There's also, I believe, on tax returns, there's places there, but we do have to have some sort of evidence to prove that they are disabled. We don't need a letter from the doctor. Typically what we anticipate seeing is somebody who's on SSI or disability.
Next question, do you have to use all income for qualifying or only what you need to keep under 125,000?
So the answer to that is we use, it's not household income, like I mentioned before. It is based on the income that the underwriter determines the borrower is going to qualify with. So if you have a borrower, say, who gets a base income and they also have overtime, but you do not need the overtime to qualify, we will use, whatever income that the underwriter comes up with, that's the income that we will use.
Chris Ritchie pulled from the program manual. He says the program manual states for purposes of meeting the eligibility criteria associated with the income limits, only the loan qualifying income of the occupying mortgagors will be considered. So wouldn't non-occupant co-borrower income be excluded from the income limit, given the above guideline?
That could be, I'd have to look at that guideline that you're looking at, but no, we do. At this time, we are including, if you have a borrower and a non-occupying co-borrower, we do include both incomes in our maximum income limit.
Do you have to account for payment shock?
No, that's, with automated underwriting, that's all kind of coordinated in there. So, no, we do not look at that.
What about a single family residence with an ADU?
As long as it meets agency guidelines, that's what we're looking for.
Are the reduced MI coverage requirements listed in the portal?
You'll need to work with listed in the lender portal. Sharon, can you answer that? I believe you do need to work with your MI company.
It looked like on that chart that you sent, it follows home ready. Home ready, home possible, reduced.
Yeah. Okay.
What is the definition of a FTHB? Also, I assume this means that if one person has owned a home and the co-borrower has not, the co-borrower would still need to complete the first-time homebuyer course.
Yeah, so if you have two borrowers and one borrower has owned a home in the past, and the other borrower has not owned the home in the past, you will need to have the borrower who has not owned take a homebuyer education class. If both your borrowers have not owned a home in the past, they both need to take the homebuyer education classes. So it's the typical definition of first-time home buyer is somebody who has not owned a home in the last 3 years, based on your tax returns.
Is there an origination fee that must be paid to the program, or is it only the 4 fees listed?
Those are the only fees we have, are those 4 fees that were listed there.
Can the Cash Advantage program be combined with the Flex program?
So they are. So your first mortgage is going to be under FHA. I believe it's FHA Cash Advantage. And then there's Freddie Mac HFA Preferred. So that's your first mortgage. And then the second mortgage is under the Flex. They're both part of the Flex lending program. But if you're using Fannie or Freddie, you will use the Cash Advantage and the HFA Preferred. So they do work together. They do go together. Yes, that's the whole program.
Why would one allowable criteria be front end at 28% or higher? Did I read that wrong?
One allowable for the focus demographics. Those are the terms that were discovered or determined when they decided to offer the higher DPA amount. So they're looking at the front end ratio being higher than 28%. So that's where we would give them a little bit more of a down payment, 5%.
Is DACA allowed?
DACA borrowers, I'm going to follow up with that. My answer right now is no.
Agency guidelines?
Yeah, it's going to be agency guidelines. But I'm pretty sure the answer is no.
Then we have the guidelines state no first-time home buyer class, sorry. No first-time home buyer requirements needed, yet there is a first-time home buyer class that may be required for first-time buyers, just noting.
Okay, just noting, yeah. So essentially our borrowers, they don't have to be first-time home buyers for the program, but anybody who is a first-time home buyer does need to take the first-time home buyer education class.
You may have answered this, but does the Flex program require an AUS approval, or will manual underwrites work too?
So we allow for manual underwrites on the government loans only. And conventional loans, you do have to have an AUS approval for that.
How do we lock?
That will be done on the lender portal. And after this class, you will take a test to obtain credentials for the lender portal, and that's where you will lock your loans and
Is there
reserve
a-
them.
Sorry about that. Is there a max DTI or does it follow AUS?
Max DTI is 50%.
It's cheaper than HRHP. Those are 25% MI coverage for 3% down, but the chart shows 18%. That must be specific to the HFA programs through Fannie Freddie.
That's true. So that's why when you do run it through AUS, you have to make sure and identify the loan as an HFA preferred or the HFA advantage or cash advantage program in order to get that reduced MI. And again, the reduced MI is only for the borrowers who have less than 80% AMI, who meet the less than 80% AMI criteria.
Then there's a question. I think they're asking about pairing Oregon Bond Cash Advantage with Flex.
Oh, okay. You know what? So I need to make some corrections on some of the things I've said because I didn't realize that some people were probably asking questions about Cash Advantage. That
Oh.
is an Oregon bond program. The Oregon Bond Program and the Flex Lending Program are two different programs. They are not one and the same. They cannot be combined together. So when I was speaking before, I was thinking of the Fannie Mae HFA Advantage, not the Cash Advantage. So the Cash Advantage is part of the Oregon Bond Program. Again, there's no correlation between this program, Flex Lending, and the Oregon Bond Program. So we cannot combine the two. What was the question on that one again?
Whoever asked it, I don't know if they want to jump in, but Chris is who made that comment about asking about pairing Cash Advantage and Flex.
Yeah, so just, I guess to answer that question, Cash Advantage is part of Oregon Bond, not to be confused with Fannie Mae HFA Advantage, but Cash Advantage, Oregon Bond, and Flex Lending are two separate programs, and they cannot be combined.
Follow up to the DACA question. This is allowed with FHA and Freddie, I believe.
Okay, I will do
then
some more research on my end on that.
The next one
and
says that FHA and Fannie Mae do allow. Okay. Kim Freeman did pop in and say that the Cash Advantage program with the Oregon Bond Program is not allowed. Bond program and the Flex Lending programs are separate and cannot be combined. Sorry, did not complete prior to submitting. Then Chris is saying we can use the FHLMC borrower smart closing cost credit with Flex, I assume.
I'm not aware of that program, so I can't answer that question for you.
And
I think we can probably take one more question because we do need to move on for Sharon's part of the training.
Okay. I don't know if whoever was asking about that previous question wants to jump in right now, but that was the end of the questions.
Oh, okay, good.
Perfect
There was one more that popped up on here, and so a single person with no kid can't do the program since they don't meet the focused demographic. Maybe I missed that, but is there anything prohibiting a single individual with no kids or marriage or previous homeownership? They should be able to do the program, correct?
Right, that is correct. So we have two different DPA programs. There's the standard DPA of 4%, and then there's the focused demographics DPA of 5%. If you want to go with the higher DPA amount, there is particular qualifications that need to be met. One of those is a single person household with dependents. So the person that you just spoke of is just a single household with no dependents. They would qualify for the 4% standard DPA.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
I guess we're gonna hand this over to Sharon and she will discuss the lender portal with you guys. So I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay,
Thank you, Sharon.
thank you. Okay. Hold on. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me get myself situated over here. There we go. Now can you see me? You good, Christina? Can you see me
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
good.
I can see you.
Sorry,
Sorry, I
you know,
shook my head.
You did. Switching between two screens sometimes just is more than I can handle getting it on the right one to share. So thank you, Christina. I appreciate this training opportunity and to be part of the team. And now that you've given such a great overview on the programs and they've learned how those work, the next thing we're going to do is go over the lender portal training. We're going to cover what is the lender portal, how to access and maneuver through the portal, making loan reservations, uploading and submitting documents, and then checking your pipeline loan status for conditions and approvals. So the Lender Online provides a web-based application for online reservations and document management. All documents for review are uploaded and electronically submitted through the lender portal, and it's going to be available for you to use 24/7 to accommodate most of your tasks. You'll be able to submit documents for review, check the loan status of your pipeline. You can print confirmations and approvals, obtain other guidelines and run reports. And the only thing you won't be able to do 24/7 is make that reservation. That window is going to be available 9 to 4 Pacific, which is 11 to 6 Central. And it's not going to be available on the weekends or some of the weekday holidays when the financial markets are closed. The portal can be found at the URL listed up here at the top of your screen, and all organizations will have access administrators. And those are people within your organization who will be creating the credentials for the users, and there's 7 different levels. If you don't know who your access administrator is for your organization, please email or call us and we'll show that contact information at the end of the presentation. Once you've gained access to the portal, you'll see the labels across the top of your page here, and these house the indicated information in these tables that you see below. The bulletins list shows the mortgage rates that we'll place in there every day, current income limits. You know, we may have some other information in there for you, some other resources. And in the program documents, when you click on that, you'll see the different summaries. We have one for the government and one for the conventional. And these are kind of the Cliff Note versions of the lender manual. It just has all the particulars in a few pages, and it also will contain all of the income limits as well. And then, of course, you'll see the main big manual there. And we do have an online recorded training that will be coming soon. Christine, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about that or not.
I'm still trying to figure out where we're gonna post that. I don't know if it's gonna be on the lender portal or the website. So
Okay.
more information to come on that.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are interested in receiving the daily rate sheets after they've been priced, then you could sign up to receive those at the URL that you see listed here on your screen. Next, we're going to discuss the tabs in the system. So under the labels here, you'll see these different tabs. The DPA program options will be found in New Reservation. The Loan Status tab is where you're going to go to check the status of your file, pull and submit documents. The Reports tab is where we have several different simple reports to help you keep abreast of your pipeline, and we'll discuss these in a few slides. And then user accounts is where you will change your password, your contact information, and it's where the access administrators will create your credentials. There is a 60-day timeline from reservation to Idaho housing purchase, and this timeline is managed entirely by the lender. But we do have some suggested flexible timelines shown on the screen that will accommodate for your package submission to be reviewed by Hilltop while allowing plenty of time on the back end after closing to submit that credit file to Idaho Housing for purchase. And just as a reminder that reserving the loan too soon could cause unnecessary extension fees, and we'll discuss that a little bit later as well. I'm sure your organization is probably not unfamiliar with this process, so you might want to check with them too, but these are just some suggested timings to make sure that you can get everything done in a timely basis. But before you can actually make the reservation, you do have to have that loan application and the executed sales contract. When you're ready to lock and reserve, you're going to click on the new reservation page, and you'll see all of the programs listed there for you. They're listed by loan type, the DPA assistance. Then the next level shows you the repayment terms, the maturity, the income level for the particular program, and then out here you're going to see the rate that was priced that day. These are just, from our test site, so ignore that. But you can see everything that you want to see that day when you're ready to think about getting something for your borrower. And if you look over here on the program summary, you can click here and it will take you to whichever summary is applicable for the product that you're about to look at, just in case you needed a quick reminder on the income limits or any of the other guidelines for that particular product. Now, if you do go in here one day and you don't see some of the products, just note that because of the market volatility, they may not be able to price all options every day. So just a little word of warning. So far, they've been pricing everything, but just in case, I didn't want you to feel like, be shocked that maybe some of the programs weren't available anymore. Once you've chosen the product, click on the loan demographic screen, and this screen is going to appear for you. So you'll want to complete all of the fields that were marked with the red star, and it's about 40 fields. You can put in any of the other ones, such as middle name, if your company requires it. This one does, we do not require that. There's sections for the borrower's information, the current address, the property, the income of the mortgagors, and at the bottom, there's a section for the lender's information. It's going to take you about 90 seconds if you want to tab through and put in this information, because a lot of things are in a drop down, and so you just choose. But if you would prefer, you can also import the 1003 by uploading the Fannie Mae 3.2 or whatever the current version is right here, and it will complete probably most of it. There may be still a few fields, so you'd want to check for any fields that had the red star. Before we get too far, I wanted to share couple of tips with you regarding the form. If you're new to this, if you've used this particular software before, you're already familiar. But if you're not, I don't want you to get to the bottom of the page and then realize that something else needed to happen before you could make the reservation. So when you first log in and you open up one of these demographic screens, if you will, scroll down to the bottom of the page here where it says officers and contacts. You need to have names populating in these two fields here. There should be this drop down. There should be people listed in here. This is something that happens at the time the credentials are created, and it can be overlooked. If there are no options in these boxes, then you would not be able to make the reservation, and you'd have to get that taken care of, and then you'd have to start over. The second thing I wanted to point out is here in the income section. There are options to put the income in annually or monthly. And either one is fine, but you need to make sure that you are putting in the correct amount based on the option that you've chosen. So for example, if you've chosen the annual amount here, but you put in a monthly amount, the system will not calculate and validate correctly against the income limits that we have in there. And you could end up with a reservation that's really not qualified, and your borrower may be over the cap. So please make sure you pay particular attention to this as well. And then once you get to the very bottom, you've got everything in, you go ahead and click that submit button. Now, once you've submitted, if you're not receiving the reservation confirmation, you're getting some sort of error message. It could be as simple as a zip code or any other required field that was marked with the star. Just go back to there and make your revisions. This one is a little bit more daunting because the system has validated the income entered of $100,000 against the values program, and it's indicating that the borrower earns too much for this particular address provided on the reservation. If you know the borrower's income is below that limit, it may just be a simple typo. You can go back to the field, revise the income, and resubmit. But if the borrower's income is actually $100,000 for this particular program at that address, they're not meeting the guidelines, and it will not let you make a reservation. Once you've got all the required fields in there and it likes everything after you've submitted, this is the notification you're going to see telling you the reservation has been accepted. So when you pull up the confirmation, you're going to see all of the loan demographic information that that's pulling over from your reservation. And it's also going to show you our system generated loan number, the date and time it was accepted. 60 days from that, it's automatically going to calculate the commitment expiration date. Remember, this is not the date of closing. This is the date your file needs to be purchased by Idaho Housing. And then, of course, it's got your rates. It's going to show your first lien rate. It's going to show your second lien rate. So it's got all the good information there that you and your lock desk are going to need. After you make the reservation, any cancellation or changes to the loan must be done by us. These are just some common change requests listed on the screen, like changing the income amount, the loan, even the program type. As far as cancellations, the general rule is we will not be able to allow another reservation for the same borrower for 60 days from cancellation. However, we do make exceptions for reasons that are out of the borrower's control, and we've seen a number of these, such as repairs that the sellers aren't willing to make. We've seen appraisal issues, extended title issues, just to name a few. So if your borrower has one of these issues, give us a call and let's chat about the current loan status. We're going to take a look at the current rate and the expiration date and see how much time is left on it. Maybe you were able to lock a great rate for your borrower and you just you want to keep that rate, and so it might be worth it to pay a small extension fee to keep that reservation. But if it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer and drawn out, we can note the file of what the issue was, cancel the reservation, and allow you to relock for that same borrower if it happens to be before 60 days. This is on a case-by-case basis, and there are limitations, but we just want to make sure that we are not preventing your borrowers from utilizing this great product, for things that were out of their control. So you'll want to email us, and again, I'll show you that at the end of the presentation. Oh, it's right here. Oregon Flex Lending Help at hilltopsecurities.com if you have any change request or any loan cancellations, and we will get those done for you right away. After the reservation, the next tab you're going to see and use through the rest of the process is the loan status tab. This is where you search for your borrower, and then once you find your borrower, you can see over here on the right at a glance what the stage is. So this was reserved on January 9th. They're just in the reserve stage, so just a little bit of information there for you. And you'll be using these icons to the left of each borrower's name, which you click on the view icon, that's where you're going to check your loan status for conditions and approvals. Reprint is where you reprint your confirmation if we've made changes to the loan at your request. PDF docs is where you would go to get the populated documents, such as the checklist and your second lien documents. And then eDocs is where you're going to go when you have documents and you're ready to upload for a file review. After your reservation and at least 3 to 5 days before closing, the next step is to generate the checklist. You need to know what we need to review, right? So you're going to pull up your borrower again. You see it's still reserved. Go over here to PDF Docs and click on that button. Here you can see the option to generate the checklist and the other pre-closing documents that are going to be available to you at this point. You'll notice the commitment letter and the legally enforceable obligation letter are not available yet because the file's not been approved. So once we have done the pre-closing compliance approval, when you go to PDF Docs, then you will be able to get the rest of the documents there. So you're just going to click on the check marks you want and generate your documents. And this is just a chart showing you the minimal documentation that is required, and it's pretty much the same whether you're doing government or conventional. We're looking for your standard stuff here, your 92900 LT or your 1008. And we're not asking for a specific or a special underwriter certification that you may use in other programs. We take the documents you already have, these two forms, and we're just going to ask for the underwriter to sign them, either wet sign it or DocuSign it. And that's going to be our confirmation that the underwriter has reviewed and these are the terms, at this point in time. Then we'll need the applicable AUS findings, your current URLAs, the 2 forms and any addendums, the executed contract and any addendums. We don't need all the stuff in between. We'll need that homebuyer education cert if it was required for the first-time homebuyer. Second lien LE if applicable, depending on the product you're using. And of course, the completed second mortgage deed of trust, the mortgage note, and then we've got that borrower's acknowledgement form. So as I mentioned, 3 to 5 days, you're going to want, if not maybe a little sooner, you're going to want to get those up there and you're going to click on the eDocs. And so once you, before you actually click on eDocs, I wanted to show you this checklist just to give you a feel for it. So everything in this red box, this is pulling over information from your reservation confirmation. And this is the time when you want to take a look at your 1003 and all of the documents you're about to upload and make sure that everything here matches. Is the loan still 286,150? Are they still going government 4%? If anything here it does not look like the documents you're about to submit, then just give us a call. Something's changed and we just didn't know. We'll get in the system, make those changes, and then you can draw down your other documents. One little note here is the DPA will round up automatically in our system if it's 50 cents, and it will round down at 49 cents. So we ask for you to please make follow that same formula when you are putting the DPA amount on your CD and your other documents. On the borrower's acknowledgement form, everything will auto-populate except for the 2 highlighted dates, and the lender will need to complete these as well as the borrower's signature at closing. The legally enforceable obligation letter will be completed by the system after pre-compliance approval and only requires a borrower's signature at closing. This form is just acknowledging that the borrower is receiving these funds from a qualified housing agency. The commitment letter will also be completed by the system after pre-compliance approval. If you're ready to close and you don't see either of these documents in the post-closing checklist in PDF docs, please give us a call because that means that the file has not yet been approved. In this example of the subordinate note, you see in the green boxes, the system has populated the loan amount, the lender, and the interest rate, and the lender will complete the highlighted fields that you see here. And here's an example of the subordinate deed of trust to be completed in the same manner. So it's going to pull over some of the information, and then you'll see these fillable fields for what you have to complete. So now we're ready to take a look at submitting the documents. I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of what they were for a little bit of familiarity. So these next screens will demonstrate the upload function and submission of your documents listed on the checklist that we just discussed. So when ready, you pull up your borrower again the same way, and now you're going to click on eDocs. So you just keep going back into loan status and you keep pulling up your borrower, and then you just, go through the different icons here depending on what you're doing. Now you'll see the compliance package buckets. One is for pre-closing, one is for post-closing. So they both work the same. You'll click on Add New. Once you click Add New, this screen's going to appear and you click on the Click Here button right here. And it's going to pull up a window for you to browse your computer for the documents you want to submit. You can upload them individually or as a complete package, but you do need to name each. And in this drop-down list here, you'll see all the different document options here. At the bottom of the screen, you see a place here for comments. This is especially useful to our file reviewers, especially if you have a rush situation or an explanation about one of the documents. We appreciate any comments that you might want to put there. And then once you're done uploading, you click on the Save, and you'll continue those same steps if you're just doing, document by document. Once you do click the save, it's going to show you what you just uploaded. You've got the pre-closing package, it's the entire thing, and you did put a comment in there that you're uploading that final 92900 LT this afternoon. It's a good piece of information to know. And you see the date that the documents were saved. But the one very most important next step in order for us to get notified is you have to click the Submit button. Now this yellow box, once you click Submit, it's going to fill in with a date and a timestamp, and you'll see this notification as well telling you that we've been notified, and now you can rest assured that your documents are in line for review. After each file submission, whether pre-closing, post-closing, or conditions, we receive the system notification. And from this tiny bit of information in the box, we can tell at a glance whether this loan was coming from Ohio or Oregon and the stage the borrower is in. So the comments do come in very helpful to us. We do try to, our best to review the files in the order received to be fair to everybody, but sometimes with those rushes, we will kind of jump ahead. If you've told us, you got to get that CD out the door at 5, and you're getting that underwriter cert to us. We can multitask and get that done for you. And just as a little note to kind of help everybody out, because everybody's busy, to facilitate timely reviews, you really don't need to notify us via email of a submission, as we're going to see this notification. And as you can see, our general turn time is usually within 24 hours or less for the pre-closing and 48 hours or less for post-closing reviews. And just having additional email traffic can slow down the file review process, and it just kind of gets in your way. You don't really have time to keep sending emails like that either. So just keep that in mind. Once you have submitted your package and allowed a little time, then you need to know the status of the file. You're going to pull up your borrower again, and this time you're going to, you see they're in the pre-close and complete. And when you click on the view icon, you'll scroll down to the bottom and you can see the stage status of the loan. You can see that when it was reserved, when the package was uploaded and reviewed, and you can see it was incomplete. Over here on the lower left-hand corner, there's that condition. We're missing that 92900 LT. The file was, you're going to follow the same steps for upload and submission of the conditions as well. So once you've uploaded a condition, then give us just a little time to circle back, because we do try to get the pre-closing files reviewed, conditions back out to our lenders so they can work on them. And then we circle back to conditions that are coming in so we can get things cleared. As you can see at the very top, the system currently does not email you after we've made a review or changes, but we do anticipate to have this function available in the near future, so stay tuned on that. I know that will be a nice feature for you. So once you see the loan's been approved and committed, now you have access to the other documents that we talked about earlier that you're going to need for closing. The commitment letter is for your records only, and the other documents will need to be generated and forwarded to title for borrower execution. And please remember, the DPA amount will automatically round up or down, and it does need to match the final documents. If we don't, it can cause some post-closing cures. So now at this point, your borrowers are ready for closing. It's up to you. And remember that you will be funding the DPA on behalf of the borrower. Now that the loan has closed, we need to receive the post-closing package into the portal for final review within 10 days or so. And we're looking for the final executed versions of the documents that were pre-approved, pre-closing is what I'm trying to say, as shown on the chart here. So in addition to the legally enforceable obligation letter and the reaffirmation form, and these will be uploaded and submitted in the post-closing section in the documents in eDocs, just like I showed you. Once you submit those, please make sure somebody in post-closing goes back in to check the conditions 48 hours or so. Usually we don't have too many post-closing, but you just don't want to miss that step, because our files do transmit nightly with Idaho Housing. And if we had a condition, or you just completely missed uploading this package, but you went on and sent your credit file to them, they may get ready to purchase the loan, but when they see in the system that we have not approved it post-closing, the next step you're going to see from them is asking for our compliance approval. So that could add some additional time, and it could push you past that 60 days, causing to pay an extension. So now that we've demonstrated the loan process from reservation, post-closing, and uploading conditions, I just wanted to share a report with you quickly to help keep you mindful of that 60-day deadline. It's very simple to run. It's going to promote timely purchases, which is going to help avoid unintentional extension fees. There are some other reports, but the one I wanted to show you that I think is the most comprehensive is this commitment expiration report. You can get very specific with your query, or you can just pull a general report of all the loans that you have access to see. It's going to show conditions on the files that were submitted for review in either pre or post closing. And this is what it's going to show you. So there's your conditions that we have over there. And remember, it's showing you the commitment expiration date, not the closing date. It needs to be purchased by this date. In this loan example, the file was reviewed and incomplete on January 10th. So you still have nearly the full 60 days to close and submit. But if this last date and stage said March 1st, that's only 10 days away from the commitment expiring, and it hasn't even been compliance approved yet. So that should raise some definite red flags, as the loan is either busted and it needs to be canceled by us, or if the loan's still viable and you're working through it, the commitment expiration date will need to be extended before closing. So this report can be your friend. If you do find that the reservation needs to be extended, these are the options available: 7, 15, 22, and 30. And the prices that you see here on your screen will be netted out by Idaho Housing when they purchase the loan. There's a form that you saw available in eDoc or PDF docs. It was the commitment expiration form. Just you're going to want to complete it, email it to us here, and we'll get those changes in there in the system. And we will send the signed form back to you, and we'll also upload it in the portal. And then you can reprint your confirmation to get that new date. Just a quick timeline here for you of the things that are happening with reservation, getting your review documents in, post-closing, meeting your 60 days. And early in the presentation, Christina had mentioned the program fees that would be netted out by Idaho Housing for the program, but I wanted to share a little more information about that compliance fee. All of the compliance review fees of $225 must be sent via the Hilltop Pay application. It's the only method of payment allowed, and this provides for a totally electronic process. And the biggest reason that we went to this method of payment is it allows us to compliance approve the file much faster for ultimate Idaho Housing purchase, and it's going to avoid those unnecessary extension fees. So please make sure in your instructions to title that you tell them not to send the fees, the compliance fee, to us on these loans, because we don't want to have duplicate payments. You're going to want to have that fee netted back to you, because you would be, somebody in your organization will be submitting the payment. Included on this slide is contact information. Again, just as a reminder, if you need anything, you can reach us at either of these contacts here. Just some quick information here for Idaho. We're happy to help you with the portal or anything you have about a loan. If you have some Idaho housing questions, here's some quick contacts, and of course our good friends there at Oregon. And I have one last slide. And Christina also mentioned earlier that there is a short quiz required in order to receive your credentials to the portal. So within 24 hours of this training, all attendees that logged into this training will receive an email with the link to the post-training quiz in order to receive your certificate of completion. And that's going to be upon a successful completion score of 80%. This certificate will be available for you to download at the time when you take it, or it will also be emailed to you. And here are the instructions on what to do with this. If you're an access administrator for your company, you're going to want to forward the certificate to Oregon Flex Lending Help at hilltopsecurities.com and request that your lender portal account be activated if you've been approved by Oregon Housing and Idaho Housing. If you are a user needing access, you would want to forward your certificate to your access administrator in your organization. In closing, we would like to thank you for your time today and interest in participating in the program. And Christina, I think we're ready for questions.
Yeah, Angelica's there are a couple of questions in here, and I'll let Angelica take over that.
All right.
Thank you, Sharon. And
Thank
you
you,
were right
Sharon.
under the wire too.
Really?
11:59.
Wow. Okay.
So Lori was answering some of the questions. I'll just go over them real quick. So there was one question about, says, what if the property changes, but the borrower is the same? Is that considered a cancellation? And
if the property changes, not necessarily. No, we can keep it. We can keep we can keep the borrower and change the property.
And then if we are doing a silent second, do we need a physical file for it? Is there disclosures to pull off the portal for these silent seconds? An LE, a partial exemption?
Your LE and your CDs are all going to be generated at your organization, but we do have the documents. Yes, these are the documents that I was showing you that will pull off of the portal. They will pre-populate as much as they can, and then you will complete, because we don't always know the day of closing. So we don't rely on the initial date that you put in for closing to populate. So you would put in your closing date, and then you would put in your maturity dates. So yes, there are additional documents for the seconds.
And disclosures from the portal for the silent
Yes,
seconds?
yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Let's see. Next is, do we draw loan docs for closing, or does Hilltop?
No, you will draw all of your documents. This is the
It-
borrower's acknowledgement form that we talked about earlier. This is what the borrower needs to be given pre-closing so that they have all of the facts here. We want to make sure, or Oregon wants to make sure that they know exactly what they're getting into as a 20-year term, what the interest rates are. And then at closing, you're going to pull this same document and they're just going to reaffirm. So this is the disclosures that will be available in the portal for you to share with your borrowers.
Is there a purchase price limit? Didn't see one, but double checking.
No, there's not a purchase price limit, based on the program itself is geared towards lower income, so your income is kind of gonna limit your purchase price, but there is, to answer the question, there is no purchase price limit.
Are escrow holdbacks allowed for the first, or does that matter?
I think they are allowed. I'm going to double check on that.
And there's someone asking for clarification on the DACA eligibility.
Yep, I'm gonna look into that because I've seen a lot where they are allowed through Fannie and Freddie, so, and the governments. So I'm in a government product, so I'll double check.
Are there unlimited funds for this?
Yeah, we have this program is, I'm trying to think. Yes, we do have unlimited program, excuse me, unlimited funds for this program at this time. It's going to be out for about 5 years is our term on it right now.
Do you require an LE or CD for the silent second, or just the repayable?
Go ahead, Sharon.
No, I was just going to say, not for the silent second, you would put the assistance on the first CD.
How often do the rates change?
We review them every day, so possibly every day, possibly they'll stay the same.
Sorry, I just texted you too.
I'm sorry, was someone saying something?
I think I'm gonna mute everyone again. Sorry, I muted Sharon. Yeah, there you go, Angelica.
And then Kim is looking for clarification. Unlimited funds is in reference to DPA.
I'm assuming that's what they're talking about, unlimited funds. I think that was Jennifer Leon. If you want to clarify your question, I'm assuming that you are referring to the, yes, she said yes, Kim. Kim, do you want to answer that?
Oh, thank you for taking me off mute. So I just wanted to seek clarity on the DPA funds. So currently, the DPA funds that we have available are funds that we've received through the legislative session. And so we will utilize those funds. We have other opportunities to generate some other down payment assistance funds, and we do have a current ask for additional down payment funds in this current legislative process cycle, and we won't know if we're successful with those funds until the legislation and the budget is signed and approved by the governor. So more to come on that, but we're very confident that those funds will be available just due to the current housing crisis that we're in. So
Thank you, Kim.
thank you.
Next question, do you follow bond guidelines for water source of the home, no creek or spring allowed?
Again, the programs are different. Bond and Flex are different programs. So this again is going to go back to agency. What your agency guidelines allow is what we allow for. So, and
When-
I would say that No Creek and Spring, that's, I was an underwriter for 25 years, so I'm not sure when that's acceptable. So, I'm gonna just leave it as agency guidelines.
When we do the initial reservation, is that what locks our rate?
Yes.
Are there marketing pieces for LOs on the program?
We do have on our website, on the Flex Lending page, there is a marketing flyer in there.
I'll add that to the chat as well. Let's see here. Where can we access direction for the delivery of the shipping package after the loan closes?
Do you have Idaho housing information, Christina? Or is that something Idaho Housing is going to provide?
Yeah, there is another training for post-closing and the closers that will work with Idaho, and they have a quick training that goes over how to deliver the packages to them, to Idaho Housing.
And we're getting close to the end here. Sorry, we're running over a little. Where can we access direction for the delivery? Sorry, already asked that one. If any of the fillable fields completed on the second mortgage note and deed of trust change after compliance approval, do we need to resubmit to Hilltop?
Yes, that's where you would want to email our group email address and just tell us what's changed. We will go in the system and make those changes, and then you would redraw your documents.
And last question, will you please revisit the timing of the reservation and delivery date requirement?
Yes. Let's see. I don't remember where I had it. Oh, here it is. So these are just suggestions of what we see a lot of lenders doing. Some are a little bit more risky and some lock them to, you don't want to lock it 30 days before closing because you're using a lot of your valuable time to get it to Idaho Housing and through their processes. So because our turn times are 24 hours or less in most cases, you can have worked the file and maybe even gotten a preliminary approval from your underwriter and get those documents in, 5, 10, 15 days before closing. That's when you can lock it.
Okay.
Just some
Thank you.
suggestions.
And it looks like that's the end. Lori, if you're still on, I don't know if you want to add your contact or your best contact info to the chat for everyone. And that is it for questions. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us, and let us know of any questions you've got. We'll send out an email with the presentation and the link for the test. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Vince, if you're still here, looks like you have your hand up. I don't know if you want to ask a quick question.
You're on mute, Vince. I don't know. Maybe I think he's still here.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So did I understand that right? You said to lock the loan 10 to 15 days before closing? Oh, 15 to
Sharon,
20 days before closing.
yeah, I think her screen's not up.
That's my concern with that would be just for our DTI purposes and our pricing purposes and all that, and qualifying on the loan, just because there's so many determining what category the borrower falls in for pricing.
There was an email address for Sharon Gonzalez. That's who you would want to reach out to. Let me just
Okay.
type her email in the chat because I think she has left. Let's reach out to her and she can explain it further.
Okay.
Um,
Can I ask something too? Is there, can we, before we take the test, can we review the PowerPoint or anything? Is there any?
Absolute, yeah, absolutely.
Will they send us that too when they send us the test link?
Mhm. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm still getting that email in there.
Thank you for the call.